What's up, everybody? Welcome to this live episode of The Nation here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I am the Outlaw John Rocha. Hell of a day today, Tuesday. A lot going on in the world of entertainment, a lot of drama. I was sitting up, waking up this morning. I was like, what am I going to talk about? What video am I going to do today? Look at this trailer of The Boogeyman. It's been about 22 hours. I'm not sure I'm going to talk about that. Do I want to do a review of The Covenant, this brand new Guy Ritchie movie? I don't think the hype's quite big enough yet to do a review for it just yet. Maybe I'll do one on Thursday. Do I maybe want to jump into some other things that are going on or take a look at some other videos or whatever? And I was like, well, I'm just gonna let the day ride while I work on other things. And then all of a sudden it popped up all of this stuff at once. I started thinking about the Jonathan Major stuff, and then I started reading some more about this David Choe stuff. And the big news broke about Michelle Yeoh now doing this film there for Star Trek and Section 31 film for Star Trek. And then of course, I was thinking about Love is Blind. I watched that reunion last night for season 4. Hung out with my lady outlaw, and watched it together. Had a lot to say about that. So then, as my brain was working through its things this afternoon, I realized, you know what? Let's just do an episode of The Nation. Let's go live. Let's have some fun. Let's hang out with the Outlaw Nation crew and the people and the fans and the listeners and the viewers. And let's talk about all this kind of stuff and hear from them. You guys know I love being interactive with my shows, so I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. So I got a lot to say about everything that's going on. Thank you to the 57 of you who are joining me live right now. Good to see J&B and Haskell and Smithy roll up in here. Elise is in here. What's up, Elise? Always great to see you. Elise is kind of a relatively newcomer to the Outlaw Nation, but she is a dedicated newcomer. I've seen her on a number of shows, throwing in her, chiming in with her 2 cents, which I thoroughly appreciate. Wait, why am I so green? What is this all about? Am I messed up here? Why am I? Is it the blue behind me? Look, oh, is it the blue behind me? Is that what's making me so green? Maybe I should change it to America, damn it. America, damn it. I don't know. What should I change it to? Maybe just a black frame. Is that easier for everybody? How about, I know a lot about film. How about this? This seems cool, right? A little burning film stuff. I think that works for me personally. So yeah, anyway, so much. So great to see you all. Aisha Kenya here as well. Oh yes. Good to see Aisha. Always great to see Aisha. Hopefully Clarissa will stop by as well at some point. Efren, Jeremy Miller. Always good to see you guys hanging out. Cambosos. Bruce is rolling up in here. So as you can tell, by the way, I'm already starting this show. I'm in a prickly mood. I'm in a feisty mood. I've had some physical ailments recently. I went to the doctor. Can I talk about myself for a little bit? I went to the doctor. I know we got to get into all this entertainment stuff, but I feel, I'm like Bernie Mac. We family. But I went to the doctor and had some blood work done because they were worried about some of the results on my liver. So I was like, what is this all about? So one of the tests was a little bit higher than usual. So I was concerned. I was worried. And the doctor reached out to me. He's like, Mr. Rocha, we got to get you in here for some more blood work, son. There's some issues going on. I'm like, what is this? So I looked up the test that they were talking about. The test is a test that will let you know if you've got some enzymes going on in your liver that are not good for your body, or that your liver's not processing things as quickly as it should. And if it gets bad, it could lead to liver cancer. So I haven't heard much about liver cancer or anything like that. So I was like, holy shit, yes, let's go. And thankfully, the doctor set up some labs for me, and I did them on Friday. But I felt weird through the weekend. And then today, I had some changes in my body chemistry, and I woke up in a really weird place all day today. And I just all of a sudden around 2:00, the floodgates opened and I felt a little bit better, for lack of a better term. And I was like, okay, so maybe this is the situation. And I've got to monitor things. And I've been changing my diet now recently because I've kind of made a resolution, really small resolution, to eat a little bit better. So I'm starting to make spinach salads along with my dinner. And I'm not having like rice or potatoes or anything like that. So I'm having like 2 turkey burgers or 2 Angus beef burgers just as themselves, with some spinach, some feta cheese, some diced apples, some dried cranberries, a little bit of walnuts, and then some honey Dijon dressing that is of the low calorie variety, but not high sodium. So just kind of messing around with my body a little bit, getting a little more greens up in there, trying to stay alive and what have you. And I can't think it's a coincidence that this is happening as I hang out with Kevin Smets more. Kevin has moved to San Diego. So Kevin and I have been texting and talking, and he's been on the Jedi Way a couple of times already. I'm sure he's going to join us tomorrow for the finale. We're going to do a review of the finale, me, Laura Kelly and Kevin. But Kevin, what Kevin went through, what Kevin's gone through, it's kind of, stayed in the back of my mind. And so maybe me adjusting a little bit of this stuff has to do with kind of Kevin's energy coming into San Diego and motivating me a little bit. Who knows? Who knows? We shall see. But yeah, no, I don't do booze all in the game. I rarely drink. No, honestly, I rarely drink. It's not really my thing. I don't have a beer to finish out the day. I don't have a glass of wine at night. I'm not really a drinker. Like if I'm hanging out with my friends, I'll have a drink. If I'm hanging out with my lady or something, like the other night when we went out for her birthday, which was on April 1st. Yeah, she's an April Fool's baby. I had a really nice glass of wine at the steak restaurant, but that was pretty much it. So I rarely, if ever, drink. So I always stay away from the alcohol. My weakness is chocolate. It's always been chocolate, always will be chocolate. Any kind of chocolate-based stuff. Even the other day at Costco, I sometimes, because we have Costco, it's like 5 minutes away. I go get toilet paper and go get the laundry detergent and Bounce, all that kind of the extra stuff so it lasts us for months or whatever. But they have a new thing that is a chocolate peanut butter cake. Sons of bitches. It's $20 and it is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So I did buy it and I'm only like eating a sliver every couple of days just to keep the taste in my mouth. That's it. I'm not overdoing it. I'm not going crazy. I am one of those people that can moderate. I know people who have a hard time having any kind of sweets in the house because they will tear through like an entire column of cookies in a bag, or they'll finish an entire bag of stuff or half of an entire cheesecake, those kinds of things. So I kind of try to I can moderate myself. So it's very important. I think if I didn't have that instinct in me, I'd be at least 300-400 pounds, to be honest with you, because I have such a taste for sweet stuff. So I try not to. Yeah, William says I would not be able to stop at a sliver of cake. Yeah, William, this is what I do. I cut the sliver, I take it out, and now do I cheat a little bit and go, oh, look, there's a little bit of edges here. I should take a little bit extra to kind of make it even. Yes, I do make those rationalizations in my brain when I'm pulling a piece of cake or a piece of that pie out and putting it on the plate. Yes, I allow myself a little bit of that. But overall, I try to be, very limiting of what I put in my body because I don't like how I feel when I put on weight. I'm one of those people who, when I put on weight, I actually feel pretty terrible about myself. It affects my mental health. It affects how I do things through the day, my desire about myself, and it kind of does affect me. So, people who can be heavier and be quite happy, and I've got nothing negative to say about that. Live your life as you see fit. I'm just kind of one of those people that when I put on just a few more pounds, I do feel pretty terrible about myself. And it affects how I go about my day. It makes me lethargic. It makes me like kind of down on myself. So it's not really my cup of tea. So I have to be very careful about what I indulge in and what I don't indulge in, because it does affect how I work throughout my day, my energy and what have you. So just making these smaller changes, these micro changes to kind of add a little more energy to my life. And, I'm down to only half a Coke a day, half a Diet Coke a day, which I think for some of you is kind of a shock because you all know me as a Diet Coke guy. I've finished off Diet Coke, sometimes two of them at a time, but now I'm down to like half a Diet Coke. And then I put the rest, look, this is what's left. I put the rest of it back in the refrigerator, and then I'll get the rest tomorrow, as it freezes up, or it gets cold rather. So, but yeah, that's my life, ladies and gentlemen. That's how I make this whole thing work. And while I'm monitoring all the big news and all the social media stuff that's happening, that's how I run my life, for God's sakes, and host the shows and, record the podcasts and do all the things that I'm doing. So there's a lot goes on into my world as well. So, but anyway, I hope all of you are doing well. I hope all of you are having a good Tuesday. It is tax day here in the States. So for those of you who are dealing with taxes, I hope you all are all right. And, figuring it out. I'm filing an extension, so I'm gonna wait a little bit to get all my finances in order because, as you guys know, I have multiple revenue streams and an unusual existence now versus what I had before when I had, when I was working in other places. I'd have the taxes taken out. It was a lot easier to do taxes then. Now with all the different stuff, it's not so easy. So it's life sometimes. But Annabelle Roman, speaking of money, super chat. Thank you, Annabelle. Says personal stories always welcome. Edamano, just wanted to say, hope we're not getting an Ezra Miller effect with Majors. He's good at what he does. Yeah, thanks for keeping me on task there, Annabelle. Apparently the sharing of my life is over for now. We're going to move on to the big stories. Annabelle has said, all right, I appreciate it all, but let's get to the big news. And absolutely will do that for sure. But just want to remind you all, as Annabelle just sent in, the Streamlabs and Super Chats are open. So if you'd like to send me something, I pinned it in the chat. If you'd like to send a Super Chat, I also will check on those and bring them up and read them out as we go along. Maybe some of you got a little bit of a good tax return. Send it on through for God. No, I'm not saying the whole thing, but a little bit, just to show some support here for the nation. Would appreciate it. All right, let's jump into the first topic here. And remember, as you're watching, please make sure you hit a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel down below as well. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button, because I'm trying to get to those 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And we just crossed 27,000 the other day. So I've got 23,000 more to go. Shout out to the Galaxy and Geeks people. They're a couple of pretty cool people. They have been trying to push me over the last week and a half to get the shorts game going. It's not always easy. Editing is sometimes tough for me. But they are so, how can I say this? They are so adamant that this is the thing that's going to help me get over the hump. So I got to get on it. Not always easy for me to do, but I've got to make a effort of doing that every morning, just because they post theirs at 10 and 2. And certainly I've got a lot of content on the channel that I can cut into little shorts, 30 seconds to 1 minute shorts that I can drop to to create some consistency and maybe lure people to subscribe to the channel. So we've been going. We're going to see what's happening. We're going to see what's happening for sure. So, all right, well, let's jump into the big first thing we're going to talk about, and that is the Jonathan Majors story. Let's get to it. First of all, let's make y'all thirsty for Jonathan Majors right here. That's right. That's a little picture there of Jonathan Majors clearly working out, getting it done there, Jonathan Majors. Get her done. Looking good. But there are some issues that have popped up here. Of course, a few weeks ago, the accusations that were made by his significant other, girlfriend, as it was described by TMZ, of physical assault. There were marks on her upper area here in her neck or her head. And there was a lot of reports. And then there were pushbacks from the people on his team, from the lawyer on his team, saying there are text messages that absolve him. And there was this whole idea of, she's recanting the allegations. And then the text messages were released, which really didn't help Jonathan Majors as much as people thought. And in the end, and then it just kind of disappeared, kind of like magic. And I was bringing this up on the hot mic the other day, how it kind of just disappeared and it was gone. I'm like, what the hell's going on? How does this happen? It's Marvel burying this, paying people off and moving on and hoping we all forget, kind of like what WB did with Ezra. Is that what's going on here? But now we get this report from Deadline that dropped yesterday about the situation that Jonathan Majors is in, and it's kind of maybe a harbinger of what's to come here for Jonathan Majors. Let me get past all my Draymond Green stuff, but here's what we're seeing from here's what we're hearing from the Deadline article. They are saying that talent manager Entertainment 360 has dropped Jonathan Majors. By the way, Entertainment 360 did not release a statement with this. This is sources that are telling Deadline this, giving credit to Anthony D'Alessandro and Dominic Patton. This comes, just 3 weeks after the arrest of Jonathan Majors and the domestic violence charges, as I mentioned here earlier. Majors' representation his problems don't stop just at Entertainment 360. The PR firm, the lead company, LEDE company, also initiated a break with the Avengers actor in the last month. And also fashion house Valentino has mutually agreed with Jonathan Majors that he would not be attending this year's Met Gala as one of its guests. Now, Entertainment 360 and lead company did not return any requests for comment so far. And we know that he is set to be, he's already shot the second season of Loki there for Marvel and Disney Plus, and where he plays Kang the Conqueror. Certainly we saw at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania how big of a part Kang is supposed to be, with all the variants of Kang and the Kang dynasty and all of that happening. And of course, we're headed to Avengers, the Kang dynasty, which has not begun shooting yet. So, and Deadline is saying, and I've actually reached out to a couple of my sources, they're saying that Jonathan Majors, that Marvel has not had conversations with Majors or his representatives about the idea of whether he's going to continue as Kang or not. Now, does that mean there haven't been conversations? No, it just means that any of my sources, and also Deadline sources, because they're saying that as well, nobody has any knowledge yet that whether Marvel and Jonathan Majors have had the conversation about him moving on as Kang or being removed as Kang. It doesn't mean that those conversations haven't happened, maybe through a third or fourth party, maybe some code on text messages. Who knows? You know, Hollywood can be quite discreet when it needs to be. So we will see what that leads to. But, you know, losing your management company in Entertainment 360 and then losing your publicist company in the lead company, that's a big, big sign. Now, remember, they may have access to information we do not. I would bet a significant amount of money that they have information about this situation that we do not have. And remember, the situation happened on March 25th with a 30-year-old woman. She had minor injuries to her head and neck, as I mentioned earlier. Now, Majors is still expected to appear before a judge on May 8th. He faces multiple counts of harassment and assault from the New York City DA. So his attorney, Priya Chaudhry, told Deadline that Jonathan Majors is completely innocent, is probably the victim of an altercation with a woman he knows. We're quickly gathering and presenting evidence. They presented all this evidence, including supposedly video footage from the vehicle where this episode took place. Also, the driver, they claimed, said that he saw that he had information, the driver did as well, about the situation, and 2 written statements from the woman recanting these allegations. Then he released, the attorney released a set of text messages to the press, redacting the woman's identity, but showing this back and forth. She said, supposedly on these texts, please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me that you won't be charged. They said they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me and they knew we had a fight. I'm so angry that they did, and I'm so sorry you're in this position. We'll make sure nothing happens about this. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of the hospital. Just call me when you're out. I love you. So this is really interesting because the DA is going forward with pressing charges on Majors, which is why he's going in front of the court on May 8th. But is the PR firm and the management company the beginning of the moving away from Jonathan Majors that is going to start happening from people associated with him? And certainly we had a number of people pop up on Twitter, couple of directors, theater directors pop up on Twitter and talk about how they had heard or had experiences with Jonathan Majors that were not positive experiences, that he was, abrasive or abusive at times. And so we hear that. But of course, all that is hearsay. One person's abuse is another person's joking around. You just never know with that kind of stuff, especially secondhand, third-hand, fourth-hand knowledge. You never know about that kind of stuff. So it's just like, what does that mean? Where can that go? And how much of that is true? So we're just kind of caught up in the grind of all of that. And the thing is, with those text messages, for anybody, I used to work for a year. I worked at a domestic violence center in Tallahassee, Florida. I was there at Florida State University. I wanted to direct plays. So when I quote unquote graduated, because I had one more credit to do during the summer in order to fully graduate, I stayed in Tallahassee, I think 6 to 8 months after I already had left Florida State University. I graduated Florida State University, and I directed a couple of plays. I started a production company, and I wanted to make some money so that I could have a nest egg to move to LA. So while I was directing, and of course, getting paid for that and making money off the tickets, I was also working full-time for a domestic violence shelter as an accounts payable person. Now, it was only like, it's a 5-person staff. It was not that many people. We were in a kind of a narrow office. So I did AP, someone did AR, someone was the overall accountant, and then there was a person who was in charge of making sure that the women were being kept in touch with and monitored, and their situations were handled. So when you read these text messages, from my experience in dealing with these kinds of situations, when a woman is consistently apologizing, anybody in domestic violence situation is apologizing about to the person who is the supposed aggressor and trying to smooth things over, that speaks volumes about the situation. And that's analysis, right? Do I know that that is what's going on here? No, because I wasn't there. I don't know their relationship. But looking at it from my experience and my analytical point of view, it seems to me like that is a situation where someone is in a fear of losing connection with a person, and or fear of like breaking the cycle of domestic violence, right? So again, I don't know what the truth is. This is just me, my analyzed situation. Also, we don't know. Jonathan Majors is about to blow up even more, or was about to blow up even more with the Marvel stuff. He's got a Magazine Dreams, that movie coming out. He was just in Ant-Man 3 and Creed 3. So he was very much on the come up to be hitting some astronomical heights and some astronomical wages. So as a person involved in a situation with him, is that something that you factor into when you're in a situation like this? So, certainly that's something that in my experience, a lot of people involved in domestic violence situations, they always say they have nowhere to go. They don't have any money because their money is wrapped up in the other person. And so is that an element of this? I don't know. So there's a lot to explore here, but it can't be good that his management team and his PR team dropped him, especially when there hadn't been any news. And so this does not bode well. These companies don't necessarily drop cash cows. And certainly Jonathan Majors was going to be a cash cow unless there's information that they've gotten a hold of, or there's been more that's going to come out or has come out behind the scenes to them, and they're deciding to move on. Now, it's quite possible that Jonathan went to them and said, you know what? I don't like what's going on here. I don't appreciate the situation. I'm not a fan of how you guys have been managing me, how you're responding to this kind of stuff. I'm going to give you the opportunity to let me go so that, I can move on to someone else. But because I'm involved in these allegations, I don't want to seem like the aggressive person and fire you guys. So for PR, I'm going to let you guys step aside or drop me as a client, and then I'll go find something else. Now, he is repped by William Morris Endeavor, who used to be my agency for voiceover work, both Spanish and English. So, and I know the people over there. I've known some people over there. They're pretty good people for the most part. So if his agents start to drop him, if we start to hear where films where he was looked at for the lead or had signed on start to drop him, then we're starting to get some real information for ourselves to put together, and 2 + 2 is going to equal 4, and that's the way it goes. And the other part of this whole situation is I think a lot of people have been coming after this saying, oh, this is Hollywood tearing a black man down, or, what about Ezra Miller, a white person compared to Jonathan Majors? No, I think there is some legitimacy to looking at the two cases. I don't think, in my opinion, and I'll be happy to talk about race, I don't see race here. I really don't. There's two different situations, and the two timelines are completely different. I don't anticipate that they are going to reshoot all the scenes with Jonathan Majors for Loki season 2. Now, will they replace Jonathan Majors down the road as Kang? Quite possibly. It all depends on what comes out. It all depends on if there's more, if there are other people who've been in relationships with him, if there are other things that come out that are indicative of a character trait. It all depends on if he's going to go to therapy. Look, this is not an unsalvageable situation. If he says, I lost control, I need to go see somebody, I ask for your forgiveness, I beg for your forgiveness, I'm going to work on myself. This is how Ezra Miller and WB came up with that plan. And for the most part, people are like, okay, maybe not in the bubble, but for the most part, outside of our comic book bubble, people are like, yeah, sure, whatever. I just want to see the film. So it's quite possible that Jonathan Majors and Marvel are working out a plan here to get in a situation where he can go and get some therapy, get some guidance, get some counseling, and come out the other side. It's very possible. Ray Rice, who's one of the most infamous people caught on tape physically abusing his significant other's fiance there. I think they ended up still getting married, and he's a guy who goes and does seminars talking about the dangers of domestic violence towards women and towards anybody really, but towards women specifically in his case. And so he, obviously he was ostracized by the NFL eventually, and then now he's been going around doing that, kind of like Michael Vick did with the dog fighting stuff, being a spokesman for the ASPCA. So there are possibilities still out there for Jonathan Majors. I mean, the number one priority is this woman okay? Can this woman, if this is a domestic violence situation, is she getting the counseling and the help that she needs to get out of this situation or to change the situation's dynamics so she can retain some power in that situation? There's all these possibilities that are floating in the air right now. So we don't know. But to say that, okay, this is it, he's done, or he's guilty, or he's not guilty is incorrect because we don't have all the information. And certainly comparing the two situations are completely different because Ezra's film was already shot and finished, and they were not going backwards. All those actors they had paid for, they are not going backwards. Did he assault a woman? Absolutely. Did he kidnap people or terrorize people? Yes. But we don't even know the full details of everything that's going on. So all of that is still kind of murky, and I don't know how much WB's lawyers involved, how much Ezra Miller's lawyers are involved. It's a lot of questions about all of that. This, I think, with Loki, he will stay as Kang in Loki season 2, I believe. This isn't a Christopher Plummer situation where he came in to replace all the Kevin Spacey scenes and all the money in the world. This is a much bigger part. So I'd be very surprised if they reshot that, especially because Iger is coming in saying he doesn't want to spend. He wants to cut down the spending of Disney. He wants to push these shows, to be much. There'll be much more space between the shows. So all of that is happening here. So to me, I don't anticipate that we're going to see that happen in this situation. So we'll see. And certainly Ezra's situation has a lot more to deal with. Now he's Michael Vick. I didn't say that. I'm saying in comparison. Why do you all do that? I'm not saying they are comparable situations. I'm saying they're all in the same ballpark. Assault is assault, okay? If I kill one person or I kill 500 person, I'm a murderer at my base level, okay? So if I'm assaulting somebody or I'm assaulting multiple people, I'm an assaulter, okay? If I'm violating the law by attacking someone, and since he's got charges against him that is violating the law, then I am a criminal. And if I do dogfighting, I am a criminal. If I assault someone physically and there's evidence and proof, I am a criminal. So it's all in the ballpark. Come on now. Don't be stupid. I'm not trying to say, that the dogfighting is the same as what Michael Vick did. I'm saying as a comparison here that even something as severe as what Michael Vick did, he was able to walk back from it, doing the work, doing the, showing up and doing the hours of community service, becoming a spokesperson for the ASPCA, and really committing to that. It wasn't cursory. It wasn't decoration. He legitimately changed his point of view and did the work to show that he had changed his point of view. And that's why I was using the Michael Vick analogy, not because I think what he did is comparable to what Michael Vick did. And to be honest with you, I don't know, because again, I wasn't there. I wasn't in the car. I didn't see it. Okay. So that's what I'm getting at. So just want to make sure I'm not comparing the two. Jesus Christ. Don't fucking misunderstand what I'm trying to say, or don't twist my words to fit your narrative so you can get all upset about it, for God's sakes. That's not what this is about. So I just want to make sure that's clear. There are, let's see. Aisha says the close comparison to Shia LaBeouf situation, FKA Twigs. She accused him of use, and they actually had a trial date set for yesterday. The allegations are very serious. Yeah, that's fair. But I was just like people that were coming up in my brain as I was talking. So the LaBeouf situation, absolutely, that's a valid one as well. No doubt in my mind. But yeah, so it's just these. So we'll see what happens with Jonathan Majors. I don't think this is a tearing down of a black man. I really don't. I don't think this is that kind of a situation. I think this is more because a lot of people love Jonathan Majors. I mean, love Jonathan Majors. And a lot of people that are involved who are going to make money off Jonathan Majors don't want to tear him down, don't want to see him being torn down. And certainly a lot of money is wrapped up in the phases 5 and 6 of Marvel. So the last thing they want to do is to allow him to be torn down. So I don't think this is that situation. I don't think Marvel or Disney would participate willingly in the destruction of Jonathan Majors. All right. So there's the management company must have seen something. The PR company must have seen something and or quite possibly they took a look at everything and were like, you know what? We don't want to deal with this. Let another company deal with it. Let another publicity. We don't want to deal with the calls. And certainly we as a society have become much more vigilant in calling out companies that defend people who assault women. And so or domestic violence people. So we've certainly seen that. So that could be an offshoot of that as well. So it's just very, very interesting to take a look at all this. Yeah, so we will see. Yes, Emerald, I have failed an analogy. Sure, whatever. But just kind of talking about it all around and taking a look at all this. Like, I'm not going to go one-to-one. It's just overall, we've seen this happen. And there are people that, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. certainly went, all of his drug addiction issues and all of his alcohol addiction issues, he found his way back. People created space for him to find his way back. That has happened on numerous occasions. People have created space for people to find their way back of numerous ethnicities and numerous colors of skin. There have been situations where people have found their way back through the work, through the dedication to making sure they show that they're actually learning and doing the work. All of that matters. So this is the situation there. All right, let's hit some of these Streamlabs and Super Chats. Cleo Consulting says, hey there, John. Love that you are sharing all that is going on. Thank you for that. I think it is always good to have those honest combos with fans. What do you think of all the MGM Amazon franchise plans? Well, this is something that we talked about on the hot mic a month ago. If you guys remember the situation there, we went and talked about it, and we announced what was happening. And some people claimed that it was just now coming out, but we announced it. Jeff broke it or scooped it about a month ago, talking about it because Amazon's deal is there to set up, and they want to revive 12 MGM franchises for film and TV projects. Certainly, we're looking at RoboCop, Stargate, James Bond, Legally Blonde. They're talking about a RoboCop TV series. So you're looking at all these things, and I want to make sure I get them all right here. Let me see. I want to list them. Here we go. Okay, here's the deadline article. So RoboCop, Stargate, Legally Blonde, Fame, Barbershop, The Magnificent Seven, Pink Panther, and the Thomas Crown Affair. Look, those are all still with juice to create things from. So if you get the right creators behind them, I think it would be great. I mean, a new Stargate series, I think people will be down with that, with better technology in terms of the CGI and the special effects, better writing, better storytelling, other actors. It could be really interesting to explore that. Not that some of the Stargate SG-1 stuff wasn't great, it was, but I'm saying there could be so much more to explore now because we've changed as a society so much over the last few years, kind of like Star Trek. Saying how Star Trek has changed so much from what it was before because of how we've changed as a society, or Star Wars, so certainly Stargate can do that. Legally Blonde could be real interesting because that was already kind of a feminist film about people discounting a blonde woman simply because she was pretty or she seemed dumb, but she was actually quite intelligent, and people judged a book by its cover. So what will they explore with Legally Blonde could be interesting. We're seeing Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies on Paramount Plus right now. So is there a prequel for Legally Blonde? Is there a sequel for Legally Blonde? There's been a lot of conversation that she might be a senator or something now if you were to go into a sequel for Legally Blonde with Reese Witherspoon. That could be interesting. Fame has been rebooted so many times, so why not? There's one thing that's quintessential is the idea of kids wanting to succeed in the creative arena. So that would not be something that I wouldn't be surprised to see. Barbershop, certainly a lot of fun to explore. There are whole new actors, black actors you can bring in to play in Barbershop and be a part of Barbershop. Magnificent Seven. I did like that series from way back in the 90s or early 2000s with Michael Biehn. I was a fan of that series. I hated the remake. Woof, that was terrible. So maybe there's something more for them to explore. Pink Panther, certainly a lot there in Pink Panther that you could possibly explore. Maybe make it more kid-friendly so you'd open the door to using the animated aspects of it all. That could be fun. And the Thomas Crown Affair. It's a sexy, sexy movie, whether the original or the remake. So could this be a series where the Rene Russo character is tracking down the Pierce Brosnan character as he's performing the art thievery that he's performing, or is there something more to explore with Thomas Crown Affair that you could flesh it out? Look, we just saw a new Great Expectations that's on Hulu with Olivia Colman. There's a new series that's out now. God, it just slipped my mind. That's based on that they stretched out. Oh yeah, Fatal Attraction, the one with Lizzie Kaplan. That is coming out or is out now, and that's multiple episodes exploring that movie and fleshing it out. So yeah, I think it's fine to explore it. There's more juice in those apples to explore. Nerdy Bridge Guy, thank you. He said, hello, Outlaw Nation. John, it's Brian here. Used to chime in for the Lady Outlaws MCU watch on Stereo app. Thank you. And talk about all things Drag Race. Right, Brian. And you know what? She was watching last night. She was catching up on Drag Race last night. Hope she's still coming up with keeping up with the franchises and doing well. She is. She's, I bought her WoW again for the year for her birthday so that she could keep watching them from all the different places. So yeah, she's still a massive fan of Drag Race. I am so busy I don't keep up as much as I used to, Brian, but certainly she is adamantly watching those out there while I'm working here in the room or working on other projects as well. Let's see, we've got something from JMB. JMB, what'd you send in here? He says, hope you feel better soon. Nothing comes from the liver stuff, and that changing some of your dietary routines works out for you. Thanks as always. Thank you, JMB. I appreciate that. And also one more here from Paul says, I want to see 1984 remade. Yeah, you can just go walk outside. It's 1984 is happening right now. What are you talking about? What do you want to see remade when you can turn on the TV and see that happening? So just kind of crazy. Let's see. Yeah, okay, there we go. All right, that's all the Streamlabs and Super Chats. Let's wrap up the Jonathan Majors conversation. We'll see what's going to happen. We got a while to go on that one, so we'll see how it turns out, and we'll see what the end result is. And I imagine as we get closer to the court date, which is only just 2 weeks away, we are going to hear about. We're going to hear more, or we're going to have a settlement, or we're going to have some kind of conversation about it, I'm sure. And maybe that's why this has all been quiet, because they want to kind of just settle it under the radar and then issue a statement about it in the end. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's take a quick break. I'll jump into some more stuff right after this. All right. Let's move on to some cool stuff. And let's talk about this person right here. Her name is Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh, so great. Paramount Plus released this today. They are moving forward on a Star Trek Section 31 project starring Michelle Yeoh. It will be an event film instead of a series. And of course, this was announced back in 2019 as a series. And they were looking at it. It was in development. She was going to reprise the role of Emperor Philippa Giorgio, Captain Giorgio, whom she began playing in season 1 of Star Trek Discovery. And they released a logline for this. It said, Emperor Philippa Giorgio joins a secret division of Starfleet tasked with protecting the United Federation of Planets and faces the sins of her past. So very interesting stuff. And remember, a lot of stuff happened with Captain Giorgio in Star Trek Discovery, including like alternate realities, alternate versions of herself. And she released a statement saying, I'm beyond thrilled to return to my Star Trek family, to the role I've loved for so long. Section 31 has been near and dear to my heart since I began the journey of playing Philippa all the way back when this new golden age of Star Trek launched. All the way back, it's only 4 years ago, for God's sake. So to see her finally get her moment is a dream come true, and that showed me the incredible power of never giving up on your dreams, obviously alluding to her winning the Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once. We can't wait to share what's in store for you. Until then, live long and prosper. So there you go. The production on the film will begin later this year on this. So Craig Sweeney will serve as the writer and executive producer on this. Olutunde Osunsanmi will direct and executive produce. He also worked on The Man Who Fell to Earth and Star Trek Discovery. Yeoh will be an executive producer on this thing. Alex Kurtzman and Aaron Byers will executive produce. But here's the big news about all of this. A certain someone has been working on this project for quite some time, and that certain someone tweeted about it. And I was really happy to see that. So let's bring up that tweet here from that certain someone. It's Jason Inman. Jason Inman saying, I can finally reveal what project I've been working on. A Star Trek Section 31 Paramount Plus original movie starring Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh that will film later this year. It's been an honor helping the writer and director get this project out of space dock. That's right. Jason Inman involved in creating this thing. So I'm very much looking forward to Jason getting around with this. This is his biggest round of applause. Also goes to Craig Sweeney and Central will hold. That's Olutunde Osunsanmi. I hope I'm saying that right. As the writer-director combo will warp this project to the finish line. So hopefully down the road, I will get Jason back on the channel, and me and him will have a conversation about his experiences in making this Star Trek and what's going to be involved in here. Maybe I can get him to reveal some fun details, but of course not violate any NDAs, and talk about what this might encounter. Remember, listen, we've had some Project 31 stuff here in Picard season 3 here, or is it season 3, season 3? Yeah, we've had some Picard stuff in season 3 here that has been for Section 30. I'm sorry, I get so confused. Mandalorian season 3, Succession season 4, Picard season 3, right? And so there's all these seasons going on at the same time. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel season 5, right? Or season 6. So it's just kind of get all confused with all the seasons going on right now. But yeah, Barry season 4 just started. So, but yeah, that's what is going down there. So very happy to see that for Jason. Very happy to see that for Michelle Yeoh as well. So, you know, Jason always jumping on when he was supposed to be. Oh shit, we have some. All right, let me swing back to that. When he was supposed to be a part of our crew on the Schmodown for when he became a part of the 5 Horsemen, remember the Horsemen, Jason had to dump out quickly because he had been offered this job at CBS, and he took it. He was working as a writer's assistant for a show there I think it's for the crew, then kind of moved on to and worked on some Star Trek stuff, then worked on some other stuff. And now he's been working on this stuff, which is really great. So I'm very excited for Jason, and proof positive that sometimes if you get out of a situation, or you have to leave a situation, no matter how cool it might be, you can find something else that's going to be out there for you. So shout out to him being a part of this. So we shall see. We have an update on the Jonathan Majors stuff. I just got this sent to me by one of my Geek Buddy friends, not one of the official Geek Buddy people, but one of the Geek Buddy friends. Let me bring this up here. This is from Deadline. And I will read along with you all. So I'm just going to bring this up here and we'll read along together and see what this is all about. Oh boy. All right, here we go. Jonathan Majors, John has been dropped from a slew of projects. This is again according to Anthony D'Alessandro here on Deadline. Jonathan Majors has been dropped from a slew of projects we hear on good authority, including Protagonist Pictures' feature adaptation of the Walter Mosley novel, The Man in My Basement, an ad campaign for the Texas Rangers MLB team, as well as an unannounced 5th season's Otis Redding biopic, which the Emmy-nominated actor was circling. And as they're saying, this comes on the heels of in the wake of yesterday's news that his manager and publicist have cut ties with the actor. So, as I was saying earlier, if we start to hear him being dropped from other projects, then that means there's information going around behind the scenes amongst the Hollywood inner sanctum that does not look good for Jonathan. So, yeah, this is a shame. Absolutely a shame. Obviously, again, the first priority is making sure that this woman is in a better situation, is not being physically assaulted. And hopefully there's counseling and therapy there to either get her out of that situation or for them to come to terms with that situation and figure it out. But, this is just such a shame because as some of you have been saying earlier, having a black actor of prominence come in like this is kind of a rarity. I don't know if I've seen something like this maybe since Denzel, where someone came in and everyone was like, "This is the guy. This black actor is going to be incredible. Be able to cross over and work mainstream, small stuff, whatever. Is going to do wonderful things." And I took to calling him the Black Daniel Day-Lewis because of the interesting nuances with which he brought his talent to bear in these roles. And now it seems like all these things are starting to happen. Protagonist Pictures did not return a request for comment about their film The Man in My Basement, which was supposed to be done with Majors, and Willem Dafoe is attached to that one. Now, with the Texas Rangers thing, he grew up in Dallas, Texas. So that was set to air on Friday, but they pulled it at the last minute. He was also kicking tires on a 5th season project called Otis and Zelma, which has the full support of the Otis Redding estate. I love Otis Redding and his music, so it's a shame that he won't be playing that character as well. So very, very interesting stuff for sure. The director, it seems like, was going to be Nadia Latif, who was making her feature directorial debut. So, maybe that was not a situation that she wanted to be in, directing someone who's accused of domestic violence against a female. Maybe she wasn't happy about going forward in that situation. Maybe there's stuff going out there. So, just a shame overall of what's happening here because of his actions, possibly. And like I said, we don't know. We don't have the full information, but it seems to me if they're going to start dropping him, this is the slow buildup. And we may have to start looking at ourselves. We may have to start preparing ourselves for an announcement that Marvel is going to replace him as Kang. And it's not the first time, that obviously they've replaced an actor in the MCU. It's happened. Certainly Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle being one of the most famous ones, and Mark Ruffalo taking over for Edward Norton. Yes, Edward Norton was technically in the MCU with his Hulk movie. And also Majors is currently set to reteam with Spike Lee on Amazon Studios to understudy and to play Dennis Rodman in Lionsgate's 48 Hours in Vegas. So we will see what happens with those. Spike's Spike doesn't fear controversy. So he might stay in that situation with Jonathan Majors. Certainly he was so great in The Five Bloods as Delroy Lindo's kid. He was fantastic in that. Him playing Dennis Rodman, that was something I was really, really looking forward to seeing as someone who likes Dennis Rodman as a player. And I know I've been going off on Draymond Green, but I kind of think Dennis Rodman's a better player. But that situation there, so we will see. We will see what happens with this, but it's not looking good, y'all. And I think I'm not off base by saying that, right? Elise says Disney is probably waiting on the court until the court appearance. We'll see, Elise. They might want to step forward on this. So, Second Monolith says he was outstanding in The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Oh, I agree, Second Monolith. I agree. I remember when I was at Collider, and no one wanted to interview anybody involved with that movie. They had pitched a number of people about it. I had just started the Deep Cut over there, and they pitched me this film, and I was like, yeah, I'll go see it. I got invited to the screening, went to the screening, and I interviewed the director and one of the stars. Unfortunately, I couldn't get Jonathan Majors, but they were glowing about Jonathan Majors' performance. And me watching that movie, if you go back and watch my review, I'm pretty sure I said that Jonathan Majors is one of these guys we got to watch out for going forward because he's a fantastic actor. So I had my eye on that guy, for quite some time. So for me, when I tell you that it's a kind of a sad situation on so many levels because of that, it's more than just, I'm observing this and having an opinion. It's because I legitimately, like this guy. So it's just a shame, just a shame on so many levels. I was trying to find it. I don't know if I can find it here. Maybe I can see if it's here. I'll probably get a strike on this, but maybe not. I guess not. So, it's always a situation where you're trying to find certain things and you may not be able to find them, videos or whatever. So No, I can't seem to find it. It was in my top 5 of the year. Last Black Man in San Francisco. Maybe if I just type in Rocha top 5 or something like that, maybe that'll come up and I can kind of look at this situation. Oh, here we go. So where did I? Because they mislabeled it on. Yeah, here we go. They mislabeled it. Maybe I'll get a strike for this, but just to prove my point here, this was 2019. They're asking me for my top 5, and my first one of the best independent films I've seen in over a decade. The film has stayed with me since I saw it this year, and it's an honest, heartbreaking, and elegiac movie about the lies we tell ourselves and the lies cities tell about their histories and how that can affect the people within it, and the friendship that is the central part of this movie between Jimmy Fails and Jonathan Majors. It's an exquisite, beautiful, and poetic feature film debut from director Joe Talbot. Yep, there you go. And so, yeah, I mean, that was my first one on my top 5 of 2019. So I have a special connection to Jonathan Majors, a special connection to his talent. And so to see this going down this way is just unfortunate. You hope this young woman gets the help that she needs to figure out the situation. And listen, you hope Jonathan Majors gets the help he needs to, if this is true, again, if this is true, if this is all the stuff is true, then hopefully there's, a path for him to find redemption, to work on himself, to come out of this stuff and, come out the other side and hopefully be a better person about those kinds of things. Again, if it's true, I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it is. So, oh yes, Elegake. I learned that from my friend there, Clay Major, who is watching right now. That's right. You taught me that word, Clay. So I try to use it when I can. The only other film I can think of that's elegaic is the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford by director Andrew Dominic. That is also an elegaic film for sure. Jughead says, greetings, John. Great broadcast. Love and respect all in the chat. Looking forward to the DCEU reboot. I still think it's a mistake. I guess there's another one coming, but yeah, there you go. But yeah. Oh, here we go. So, but I will support any creator that brings us good superhero movies. Love and respect from the UK, my Latino brah. Same to you, man. Love and respect to you, Jughead. Thanks for reaching out from the UK, my man. Speaking of the UK, Liverpool. How about that game yesterday, son? 6-1 over Leeds. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Putting the season back on track. Not a coincidence. Our injuries open up, and all of a sudden we're winning games. Let's see if there's any. Oh, Aisha sent me one. Aisha, let me find what you sent here. Drum roll, please. Drum roll, please. Aisha said, hey, Rocha, what do you think about the Russo brothers wanting to direct Batman Brave and the Bold? I don't think their style would work for that storyline. Well, it's an interesting situation. I haven't listened to the Zack Snyder thing. I am saving that for probably tomorrow morning after I record a video and put it up on the channel. I am going to sit, turn on my FIFA 23 game on the PS5, and I'm put the headphones on, and I'm going to listen to the Russo brothers and Zack Snyder talk about filmmaking while I play the game. It's going to be, I'm looking forward to that very much so. But you talk about their style. I mean, you look at Community, you look at Avengers Endgame, you look at this. I mean, Brave and the Bold has a little bit of tongue in cheek. It's an older approach to Batman. So they directed multiple episodes of Community. So to me, I think their style would work for Brave and the Bold and the direction they want to go in, which is more old school, more of the Adam West, not overtly Adam West, but more of the old school approach there. Could be really interesting. And how are they what is the overall plan though? What is Robin's role in all of this? What is Batman's role in all of this? What are they trying to launch? If they're launching Damian Wayne and it's a more of a darker approach to that Brave and, because I'm thinking the Diedrich Bader Brave and the Bold, which had some darkness to it, but was also kind of funny, then I think that would be a little bit different. Do you know what I'm saying? So I trust the Russo brothers. Now, do I think they've directed some good movies since Avengers Endgame or Infinity War? I don't know if I can say that. I wasn't big fan of The Gray Man, which is why I didn't review it. What else did they direct? I know they produced 21 Bridges, right? So let me see. I'm gonna look up Joe Russo first and see what he's directed here. Let's see. The Gray Man was Cherry was not good. What else? Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, Civil War. Yeah, Agent Carter, nice job with Agent Community. Yeah, 21 episodes of Community, Winter Soldier. So yeah, I mean, like the Marvel stuff is excellent, but Gray Man, Cherry was oof. So they've got 3 other ones. Citadel is coming out, the one with I think it's Henry Cavill in that one. Something called Electric. Oh no, this is the Richard Madden one, the Citadel. I actually have gotten that as a screener, so I should probably watch it. It's a series. I do like Richard Madden. I like Priyanka Chopra Jones. So yeah, or Jonas rather, because I know she's married to one of the Jonas brothers. So I should maybe take. Oh, Moira Kelly's in this one. Leslie Manville as well. Nice. Stanley Tucci, the Tooch. So I will take a look at that one. But yeah, I don't think it'd be a bad thing. I know my brother Griffin Schiller over at FilmSpeak tweeted about it. He said no thanks. But I think the Russo brothers, when they work in the comic book realm, they seem to have way more hits than when they don't. So I think I'd be fine with it, to be honest with you. Travis says, when's Rocha going to see Beau is Afraid? I'm going to see it this weekend. Look, I have a screening for it tonight, but I don't want to go tonight. I'm not feeling so hot. And as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this show, so I just kind of want to chill out with the lady. We might go for a walk in the park a little bit later and hang out together, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm going to see Beau is Afraid like on Thursday or Friday, depending on the timing, because also tonight is a full screening at the theater, and I don't want to be around a lot of people when I'm in my place like this physically. So I've already checked some of the showings for Thursday and Friday at the local theater. It's literally 3 minutes from my house in a really nice leather couch theater type thing. And there's nobody who's bought tickets. So I will be able to see it in a peaceful, relaxed environment with hardly anybody around and leather seats. And that for me is the better way to watch a movie, especially a 3-hour movie that's going to be blowing my fucking mind, either positively or negatively. We'll see. CDO, thank you. Appreciate that, Clay. Very kind of you, son. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. The Jughead, LOL Liverpool, that is my team, bro. Been supporting them since 1974. I was 7 years old then. Showing my age. No, that's all right, man. That's all right. You're only as old as you feel, man. You're only as old as you feel. All right, let's see if there's anybody else. No. Okay, no one else has sent anything through. Thank you very much. Streamlabs Super Chats are still open. All right, so that's the Michelle Yeoh stuff. We'll look and see when we're going to get a trailer, when we're going to hear more about who's cast in this film and what they're going to do with Section 31, because Section 31 is a pretty negative connotation now. We saw in Picard season 3. I guess this is spoilers, so if you want to like turn your mind off or turn your volume down for about 30 seconds, we saw in Section 31 there they had the Genesis device, they had the Tribbles, they had stuff from the Next Generation, Picard's body, some Voyager stuff, possibly some Deep Space Nine stuff. So there's a lot of things they have down there, but we also found out that the changelings were experimented on in Section 31. So a really uncomfortable section of Star Trek. So I'm very curious to see how much Michelle Yeoh's role is going to play in all of this. I'm going to be very, very curious. Yes, Kirk's body. That's right. They picked up Kirk's body from Viridian 3 as well. So we will see what the role of that is. So yeah, we shall see. Kirk's body, my body is there. Okay. All right. Well, let's take a quick break and let's jump into some Love is Blind stuff here. Oh, actually, you know what? Should we get into the harder stuff? Yeah, let's get into the harder stuff so we can end a little bit of a softer note. So we'll get into the David Chow stuff right after this. All right, let's get into it. A lot of people asking about these questions about this situation. So let's break it down. Some of you may not know this about Beef, the new show that is blowing up on Netflix, starring Ali Wong and Steven Yeun, two fantastic actors who I enjoy. And Ali, of course, fantastic stand-up comedian as well. Steven with The Walking Dead, also a voiceover artist. If you guys remember him in Invincible as the voice of the main kid in Invincible. So they came together for this show called Beef, and it's been blowing up on Netflix, and people love it. However, there is some controversy around this show. because of a certain gentleman named David Choe. I hope I'm saying that right. If anybody wants to correct me, please correct me. But this is him, and he is an artist and someone who has a very interesting history in his life. He claims to have become a multimillionaire because of Napster's founder, Sean Parker? He saw David Chow's artistry and wanted to buy a painting off of him, but at the time Napster was being sued. So he couldn't buy the painting, but he hired him to paint some murals and stuff at the Facebook offices. And the murals were described to be pretty graphic sexually. And I could read some of the descriptions if you guys want me to, but Sean offered to pay him $60,000 or take $60,000 of stock in Facebook. And David chose $60,000 in stock on Facebook. When the thing went public a few years later and his stocks matured, he ended up with $200 million. So this is not some struggling actor who is going to be affected or artist who is going to be canceled and, be without money or anything like that. So let me just preface that by saying that he is doing fine financially, ladies and gentlemen. He's doing just fine financially. So don't worry about him. But what the big controversy is that a few years ago in 2014, during the taping of one of his podcasts, and I'm not going to play the audio or the video of this because he's been apparently launching copyright strikes on people who are playing the video or playing the audio. If you want to find out about it, just type in his name and sexual assault, and it should come up. The video should come up. But during a 2014 taping of his podcast, he talked about a situation that occurred with him. And the podcast is a DVD ASA. It's no longer, it's defunct, a podcast here, his podcast. But he described getting a massage from a biracial black woman named Rose. And he concocted this story. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to preface this now. If some of you are sensitive about some of these terms, maybe you want to turn me down for a few minutes while I read this, but I want to give you guys context from where I'm coming from. So I don't want to, offend anybody. So if this is something that you don't want to hear, you can certainly turn it down. But according to him, he concocted this story that during his massage, he got sexually aroused and began to masturbate in front of this black woman named Rose. And he explained this behavior initially shocked Rose, and despite her reluctance and physically distancing himself from him, he continued with his sexual advances. He says, I just started, this is his quotes from the actual podcast. I just started jerking off. So then her hands gets off my leg and she just stops. I go, look, I'm sorry. I can't help myself. Can you just pretend like I'm not doing this? And you continue with the massage. And she's like, all right. And she does. And I'm like, can I touch your butt? And I reach out and touch her butt and she pulls away. And instead of, and despite her pulling away rather, Choe then, if you listen to the broadcast, he continues to masturbate and then attempts to convince Rose to have sex with him. He does point out that it is non-consensual by saying that she was, quote, definitely not into, unquote, the sexual encounter. Then he described forcing her to perform oral sex on him. And this is, if you watch the video, and the video's out there, it's a bunch of dudes and one woman, and the woman sitting there is adult film actress Asa Akira, and she appears to be disgusted. And she says, quote, you're basically telling us that you're a rapist right now, and the only way to get your dick hard is rape. And he says, yes. Now, he has apologized for this on multiple occasions because he has worked for CNN, for Vice. And as I said, he painted murals there at Facebook HQ. And he apologized by saying that it was fake. And he was trying to, quote, provoke his friends, co-hosts, and podcast team with his story. This is a statement. The main objective of all of my podcasts is to challenge and provoke my friends and the co-stars on the show. We fuck with each other, entertain ourselves, and laugh at each other. It's a dark, tasteless, completely irreverent show where we fuck with each other. We fuck with everyone listening, but mostly ourselves. We create stories and tell tales. It's not a news show. It's not a representation of my reality. It's not the place to come to for reliable information about me or my life. It's my version of reality. It's art that sometimes offends people. I'm sorry if anyone believed that the stories were fact. They were not. And he added, quote, I am not a rapist. I hate rapists. I think rapists should be murdered and should be raped and murdered, is what he said to kind of really hammer that point home, which seemed like a bit of overkill, but I guess he's hammering the point home. The other part of this controversy is that multiple news outlets, multiple people on social media have reached out, and journalists have reached out to Netflix, to Steven Yeun, to Ali Wong, and to the directors and producers on the show, and none of them have responded with a statement. In fact, Ali Wong turned off the replies on her Twitter because people were responding after this story, quote unquote, broke. This has been around since 2014. Because of the popularity of Beef, and David Choe is a big part of that show, series, it exploded, and so she turned off her thing. So this is a very interesting situation for a lot of reasons, because also A24 is a co-producer on Beef, and they haven't come out with any kind of comment either. Showrunner Lee Sung-jin or any of the producers have also not responded to this. And the questions from a lot of the fans are, did they vet David Choe? Because apparently he was convinced to be on the show. He was convinced to be an actor on the show. He's not naturally an actor. They asked him to be on the show. And no one has responded to anything. And Lee did say in an interview with Today's Show prior to the controversy resurfacing that he had reached out to both Wong and Yeun because he had found out that they were acquaintances of Choe's. I texted Steven and Ali, and I asked Alex, and I asked, hey, do you think David would ever act? Adding that Choe was cast after he submitted a tape. Now, if you want to go directly to see the video, Aura Bogado, at Aura Bogado, AuraBogado, she posted the video. And I think it was taken down, the volume or the audio was taken down on TikTok. You could see the images, but the audio was taken down. But the video is out there on Twitter if you want to watch it. It's really uncomfortable. It is. It is super uncomfortable. It's unsettling, the things he's saying when he gets to that final part and talks about forcing her, because I think he says face fucking, and it is really unsettling. I played it for my lady outlaw last night, and she was just like mouth wide open going, who the fuck would even joke about something like this? And she's not wrong. And I think this is where people are having the argument. And certainly people are defending it, saying, look, he apologized for it. It's not real. It didn't happen. And I've seen some white critics come out, I mean, literally stay the fuck out of this one, coming out going, well, he apologized for this, totally ignoring that it's an Asian man creating a rape fantasy around a black woman. And I've seen people call this term misogynoir, which is the first time I ever heard of that term, misogynoir. And I don't really know the full term of what it means, but I can gather what it means, which is creating this kind of darker narrative that is about a man power playing a woman physically in a sexual situation. I would imagine that's what the definition is. But this is really unsettling. And apparently David is going after people who are posting the video or the audio and launching copyright strikes. And I saw one of the articles imply that Steven and Ali and the producers and Netflix might also be participating in putting the copyright strikes on these videos to try to quell the story or keep people from seeing this video because they want the show to be successful. Now, there's a lot of things that are wrapped up in this, right? Because Asian representation has become something that's really important. Certainly, I've championed it on my shows, having Wendy Lee on the show we did for a while on the channel, and Wendy opening my eyes to a lot of Asian content that's out there that I know about. And I support it. I think it's great. But, we're dealing with Hollywood, and not everyone is as squeaky clean as people think. And certainly people have a past, and there's issues with those pasts and what have you. And so when you become famous and when you become big, then all the light now shines on all the stuff you've done. And this has popped up. And this has kind of stained what was initially, for about a week, a very strong excitement amongst the Asian community, but amongst all people who are entertained by this, to see a Asian-led show with an Asian cast like this blow up on Netflix to this level that it did and become a pop culture mainstream media sensation. So what this does is kind of kick that back a little bit and stain it. Well, not more than a little bit, and stain it. And certainly, a lot of Asian creators, Asian people on Twitter, Asian pundits have come out and spoken against this misogynoir. Some have come out to kind of soft defend it, saying that it was back in 2014, that he's apologized multiple times, that they're coming after him because he's Asian. I've seen that kind of argument, which is really ridiculous, in my opinion, because it's got nothing to do with it. If there's a white person saying this kind of stuff, they would come after them. So I just found this to be a fascinating situation in terms of, and not in a positive way, in a sad way, because, we've seen so much rise in Asian hate since COVID and the stupidity from Trump and the right and the GOP and the MAGA nuts pushing that Wuhan virus bullshit and, creating all that nonsense to use as an excuse to step on yet another underserved community, like they're doing with the trans community, like they did with gay marriage for a long time, or they still do with the Black community and underrepresented. They love to stomp on smaller communities in order to make themselves feel good. They fucking love it. And so to see them doing this, that has seen them using that rhetoric to essentially spark a lot of attacks on Asian people across our country, across the world, is such a shame. And so to see these moments where people of color get to come out ahead with a project or a creative outlet, and to have it pushed back now because of a situation like this is so unfortunate. I watching it is really tough for me. So it's very tough for me, that kind of stuff. And what did Aisha say? Did Aisha say something? Aisha said, yeah, I've gotten several DMs with weirdos begging me to fulfill some sort of sick fantasy they have about being with and taking advantage of a Black woman. I've even been offered money. Wow. See, and that's the thing that is just such a horrible situation. And, to see that going around and to see guys, sometimes I feel weird, man, because I'm not one of those guys. It looks, I'm not innocent or anything like that. I've had my fun when I was younger and whatever, but like, I don't have that tendency, that proclivity to like, make it as, I don't know. It just really odd to me. Like, I'm just like, can we just like get along and respect each other and you do stuff? Doesn't mean you can't sometimes have fights or missteps or make mistakes or whatever, or misspeak. Of course, that's life. But like this kind of idea amongst some of the men in my community who want to, community I mean by overall men, who really want to turn women into these physical playthings that they can manipulate and destroy and hurt and tear apart. It's just unsettling to see. And certainly the abortion stuff that's the genesis of that. You can do your religion, you can say all that stuff you want. It's really a genesis of controlling women. And that's what it's really all about. You can find all the other excuses you want to find for it. That's really what it's all about, in my opinion. And so that is a really big neon sign of how a male-dominated society will treat women. And so you're seeing in a microcosm this kind of a situation. And his defense, I think his apology is like a soggy paper towel. Like the idea that, well, I was trying to provoke them. Yes, but you were using this Black woman as your pseudo fantasy to dominate her and to force her to do, and you were giggling the whole time as you told the story. Like he's laughing or smiling the whole time as he tells the story. And so I get it that you want to provoke, but if you really want to provoke, why don't you get provoked and not take this stuff down? And if you want to experience and put people through shit and like really want to see their reactions to stuff, well, David, stop putting the copyright strikes out there. Let it live. And then you experience what it's like to get fucked on this situation. If you want to goad other people to react, to a story about you forcing someone to fuck you in some way or fucking someone against their will, why don't you take all the copyright strikes off, allow yourself to be fucked and experience that for yourself and turn the tables on yourself and see what that experience is like, because I just don't understand this idea of creating this kind of fantasy and then saying that you're doing it to provoke reactions from people and be unwilling to be provoked yourself, be unwilling to take your own medicine in a situation like this. It just seems odd. So clearly he's trying to, defend his brand and not have himself be quote unquote canceled, as the people love to use that term, or destroyed by the situation. But it's kind of nuts. And if he claims it's fake, but this could open the door, as we've seen with other people, once people start talking about another person and their history and their past, other people come forward. We've seen that happen a number of times. So will other women come forward in David's life who have experienced this and it was not fake? Because he claims it's fake and it's not true, it never happened. I don't know. But it sadly, it sullies what had been a situation where there was a lot of pride to take with the success of Beef for the Asian community. And certainly for Ali Wong, who I think is a fantastic actress, a very funny lady. And, and I think rumors came out today that her and Bill Hader are back together or whatever. So great, two fantastic comedic geniuses with a little darkness bent to them. And Stephen Yeun, who I absolutely love. I was a voiceover artist at William Morris Endeavor, and I would see Stephen come in every once in a while to audition. Incredibly nice guy, very nice guy. And it was during the Walking Dead situation where people weren't sure if Stephen was going to become a breakout star. So, he was very gracious and cool whenever he would come in to audition, and we'd sit in the green room and whatever new. So, it's just a shame to put this kind of stuff around it, but this is proof positive that you got to do your vetting, man. You got to do your vetting when you're casting. And look, this is not the first time. Isn't A24 is also wrapped up in that situation with the Safdie brothers and that producer who brought in an underage girl to be on set and then tried to have her have a sexual scene with some dude who just got out of prison. And it was a non-union. She wasn't even getting paid for the day. So they're navigating that shit as well. So I get that you got to be edgy and gritty and right on the, barbed wire, right on the edge and walk in the razor sharp edginess of creativity and all this kind of shit. But the truth is, if you start to play with a little fire, your ass is going to get burnt. That's how it works. So sure, cast these people. Sure, don't do the vetting. Sure, turn a blind eye, but don't come crying when shit blows up. Don't. Take your fucking hits. Take your lumps. You knew what you were doing. Take your lumps. You knew you made the mistake. Issue a statement. I mean, they're high. They haven't said a word. And I wonder if that's legal, telling them to not say anything and it'll blow over. But I think that's ridiculous. You got to speak on it, man. So that's the situation as it stands there for that kind of stuff. So we'll see. I mean, we were going to watch Beef and now she is out. She is not going to watch that show. She watched that and she's like, no. And I bet she's not the only one that was maybe, kind of putting that in their queue and thinking about watching it. And then the end is not going to watch it because of seeing that situation pop up, so it's a shame. Let's see. Oh wow. I'm Doug. Hey, what's up, Doug? He says, wow, John, you met Stephen Yeun. Tell us more how he was like. He's our Asian Jonathan Majors when it comes to, well, I don't think you want to make that comparison right now, Doug. Really not the smartest comparison to make right now. But yeah, Stephen's great. He's a very nice guy, very humble guy. Two of my friends knew him. And so like he would sit with them sometimes and I'd occasionally, have the conversation with them and crosstalk or whatever. But yeah, really, really chill dude. Really nice guy. So that's all I can tell you. Very nice. Didn't have any kind of, big, long conversations with him or anything else, but just a really chill dude. So, yeah. So Blink wants to know he has a major part in Beef. Yeah, he does have a pretty major part in Beef from what I understand. So, we shall see. We shall see. All right. Well, let's take a quick break here and we'll move on to some other stuff as we head towards the Oh my God, oh my God, I'm at an hour and 20 in already. Jesus, I didn't know I was talking that long. But thank you to the 180, 190 of you who are watching right now. Please make sure you hit a like on this video, subscribe to the channel down below, share it on your social media in case people want to see what this idiot's got to say about the world. Do all of that. Would appreciate it if you want to follow me on my social media channels. It's at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok as well. All right, let's take a break. We'll be back with some more stuff right after this. All right, let's power through some more stuff. And just a quick reminder, feel free to leave Streamlabs and Super Chats as I go along. I will gladly read them. Fred Tastic sent me one. He says, hey, John, I saw Renfield and was a big fan of the movie. He was in the same vein as Violent Night and Cocaine Bear. Checking back with a question I asked months ago. Have you seen Puss in Boots: The Last Wish? I'm curious how you feel about it. Thanks. Yeah, I thought it was really good. It was a fantastic. The animation was next level anime. I did not anticipate that from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It kind of came and went, even though I think it did do well. It just kind of came and went and then went right on to Peacock. I wish I'd seen it in the theaters. I had to turn down the screening that night. I was doing something else and I just could not get out in time. So I missed it, but I thought he was great. I thought Banderas did a wonderful job. Salma Hayek was damn good as well. And who else was in that movie? Wasn't Christina? Was it Christina? Who else was in that movie? That was a voice. Florence Pugh. Yes, Florence Pugh's Goldilocks was fantastic in the film as well. Really enjoyed her. And getting Olivia Colman and Ray Winstone to play the Mama Bear and Papa Bear, I thought was really, really funny to see their sequences. And Harvey Guillen as Perito, I thought was great. Harvey doing a lot of voiceover work lately. My friend Eric Rogers, who is a showrunner for animated stuff over at Prime Video, he has cast Harvey Guillen in a role there, and he took pictures with him on his social media. And so shout out to Harvey, who's another fantastic Latino actor who is getting more and more work, and great to see. I saw him on Lopez versus Lopez the other day on his episode, and I'm a big fan of Harvey Guillen, and of course because of What We Do in the Shadows, but other stuff as well. Malcolm says, hey, so I recommend Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It's on Peacock. For any of you who have Peacock, if you don't, it's $5 a month. You get a lot of content for $5 a month. Go enjoy Peacock. Malcolm says, hey, John, my partner and I are constantly criticized for stating that we don't want kids. That or they say we'll change our minds. I'm 30. She's 27. Have you had to deal with any aggressive comments about not having kids through the years? It's tiring. Well, Malcolm, it's a good question. And we're about to get into Love is Blind. So certainly that's a thing that came up. I have always wanted to, like when I was growing up, I wanted to have kids when I was in my 20s and 30s. But when it didn't happen, I kind of came to the realization that, hey, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And so I didn't put too much stock into it. And certainly, I think I don't know if there were many people in my life who came out to like, why aren't you married or what happened? Or certainly when you would date women, there was that kind of thing of why has he never been married? This kind of thing as if somehow it just didn't work out with a few people, or you've been focusing on your career, or you just didn't meet the right person. There was this idea. I'd rather not meet the right person than meet someone, get married, have a terrible divorce, have to co-parent with kids, have to co-parent with them with kids and all. I mean, because there are some situations that are just horrible. Some of my friends are in some terrible situations with their ex-wives or ex-husbands as they co-parent with their kids, with kids. And it's tough to hear the stories. And I'm like, thank God I'm not. I'd rather all the bullshit I went through being a single guy and some of the people I dated, I would never exchange that for the madness of worrying about possibly ruining a life that I brought onto this earth through fucked up interactions with an ex-wife or an ex-lover, so I'm glad that that's not an element of my life. So no, I haven't really experienced that. And Lady Ella was very clear from the second date that she never wanted kids. And, to me, what we built was more important than any of that for us. Right. And I think that's happening more and more. I think more and more people are embracing a childless life. I saw Seth Rogen the other day on, I think it was the Kelly Clarkson show. And she was asking him, like, how come, you said this quote years ago, are you still, feel this way about children? And he was like, yeah, I I don't want to have kids. I don't have any interest in having kids. And I hear about all these, like, we can't go to Europe because we've got to get a babysitter, or we've got to bring all these kids along. And he's like, to me, it's just so much more easier to not do any of that and just go to Europe and just go and do whatever. And he's not wrong. And I think, certainly we've kind of accepted that, and we're fine with it, and we like to go and do things, and we just rely on each other. I don't think it's selfish. It's just the way we're built. Other people want to have kids and need to have kids and are driven to have kids. And I think that's great. Honestly, I have nothing but respect and honor for people who want to have children and want to have more, to put more in life, because they love children. They love having children. They see the joy of it all. And I think that's great. So the balance is there. Neither one should shame the other. That's all. That stuff's got to stop. Those moms, I'm always amazed at the amnesia that happens for moms and dads towards their children when they get to a certain age. Like, really, it's amnesia. Do you not remember your own mother and your own father constantly on you about having kids and getting married and making such a fucking big deal out of it? Why do you forget that when you grow past 45 or 50 years old and you're doing the same behavior on your own children that you hated that was being visited upon you by your own parents? So I always find that to be fascinating, the kind of parental amnesia that happens in these kinds of situations. The same women that got away with a murder when they were teenagers or in their 20s are constantly hovering over their daughters. And it's like, they're going to do what they do. You did what you did. Where's the fucking balance here? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know better. You know better now, but you didn't know better then. And no matter how many times your mom or your dad told you to know better then, you still didn't listen. So why do you think she's going to listen or he's going to listen? It just doesn't make sense. And it applies to dads as well, So it's a fascinating situation. Doug Developer says, hey, John, never saw an episode of Succession, and I now know what happened in episode 3 because of what the Los Angeles Times tweeted. Is it still worth watching? And was there ever a very popular show you don't regret missing out on? Oh, good question. Well, yeah, I still think it's worth a watch. Absolutely, the show. It is called Succession, so that was eventually going to happen at some point. So what happened, and that it is what it is. I still think you can value the show leading up to that. You still saw Titanic, even though you knew the ship sank, right? You still go see biopics, even though you know what's going to happen. So it's just an adjustment of a mind. It's just adjusting your mindset before walking in to see it now. I'm very glad I caught up on it. Thanks to Shannon encouraging me to do so that we could review it on the channel. And our review of episode 4 is up on the channel now. So I got to experience that in real time with everybody else. By the way, that was our biggest view count for an episode of Succession yet from all 4 episodes that we've done. So it was a positive thing for both of us and for the channel. And is there a very popular show you don't regret missing out on? I don't know. I mean, I've only seen one season of Breaking Bad, but I don't necessarily feel this, drive to go watch it. Oh man, I don't know if there's a show that I don't know. Maybe I saw Lost, I saw Sopranos, I saw The Wire, I saw Sex and the City, I saw. I don't regret missing out on Scandal. Is that the Kerry Washington one? Just never felt a proclivity to watch it. Or Madam Secretary. Is there anything on HBO that I never watched that I wasn't like all jazzed to see it? I'm sure there is. I just can't remember right now. But I'm sure there are a number of shows that I'm like, you know what? It's just not my thing and I'm not going to watch it. So yeah, it happens. Fred says, I loved your comments about getting married and having kids. Thank you. Your feelings about ruining lives is true, even for parents who want kids. I was fortunate to have great kids who grew up to go to college and become good men. Your honesty is inspiring. Thanks. Well, thank you, Fred, for raising good men. That's a positive, dude, to put that positive energy out into the world. And hopefully that will spread to other people that they come in contact with, and they may alter people's lives in a positive way. So yeah, thanks to you, brother. And please Very kind of you. Efren says, what does Efren say? Oh, thanks, Efren. Wow, really nice of you. He says, hey, John, the last episode of Picard is approaching. You and Mike have been doing a wonderful job talking about it. Thank you, Efren. I would love for you to bring Rob Burnett and have all your takes on the show. Well, I suppose I can announce this. So my friend just texted me who's been watching the show and said, watch Breaking Bad all the way through or we're done as friends. Well, it's funny. The lady Outlaw threatened me like that for The Wire. She said to me, we have to watch The Wire or we can't be boyfriend and girlfriend. And so we watched the entire series together. Well, and switching to Picard here, Efren, thank you very much for the compliment. But I'll tell you this, right now, we are locked down to record the finale of Picard at 11 a.m. PT on Friday with me, Mike Vogel, Steve Morris, and Scott Mantz. That is the lineup for right now. Rob is so busy. Rob has CinemaCon coming up. Rob is doing that. Maybe I could do a special, like a Nation show, where I interview Rob about his takes on Picard, because Rob was one of the first people that when I posted after the trailer dropped, how excited I was. Rob was one of these very positive responses about the series, because apparently he had seen it way ahead of everybody else, and he knows Terry Matalas. So that's the lineup for Friday. And now we might be going live. Michael is in another state this weekend, so it'll depend on this week rather. It'll depend on his internet. I told him to bring the Ethernet cord. So if he's got a good connection, then I think we're going to go live at 11 a.m. PT and talk about the finale and hear from everybody and their thoughts about it. So just put that on your calendar in pencil for now. If we don't go live, we're just going to record it and I'll put it out as a regular video. But that is the plan. Tomorrow I have the Mandalorian finale with Laura and Kevin Smets, and then Thursday morning we'll do the Mandalorian finale with the Geek Buddies, and I'll put that out in the afternoon, and of course the hot mic as well. Ted Lasso, yes, that will be coming up as well. The first Ted Lasso did not do well, and I feel like it's not really a review show. People don't really watch the reviews because it's not as intense. So we decided we'll do a mid-season and a season finale review. So the mid-season point is this episode this week, which already dropped on my screener. So I'm going to take a look at it. So Shannon McClung and I are going to review it. If it drops to tomorrow, I think Shannon and I can review it tomorrow, and I'll put that video up for a mid-season finale review and then a season finale later on. But I've been enjoying this season. It's so much better than season 2, in my opinion. I've been liking this season much more, for sure. I do have one bone to pick, and I will probably make a video about this one day, but I just have an issue with how the diverse characters are handled and portrayed on the show. Sam and Danny and I forget the captain's name. They aren't really given much to do other than punchlines. And even Sam, who last season had that whole thing with him and Rebecca and him and his dad and making that stand, it really was lightweight, right? Everyone loves Jamie Tart or Roy Kent. Those are the white characters on the show, or Coach Beard or Ted Lasso. And even the Nate stuff this season has a bit of a letdown because he's only shown up like twice. And we were led to believe that this was going to be the conflict, right? And it hasn't really popped up in quite the way we thought. And certainly there was the game where, they messed up by playing that video and whatever. But like, we're not seeing, I don't want to give away too much, but we don't see a lot of the diverse characters get layered storylines to play. And man, it's a little frustrating, especially Danny, who's just a punchline guy, and I love him as an actor. It just frustrates me that we're not getting more when they spend all this time with Jamie Tart. And is he going to be a guy, not good guy? Is he going to get back together with Keely or not? And we spend this time with Roy and his anger and being a pundit and what does he go through and how does he change and all these things that it just kind of frustrates me that the minority characters, diverse characters aren't getting the same kind of treatment from the writers that the other white characters are getting, other than Nate. Obviously, Nate got a lot of love last season and his journey. So, but it just kind of bothers me a little bit, and I wish they would work on that for sure. But I do love Ted Lasso, so All right, well, let's move on to some quick hits here, and let's talk about the first one, and that is Charlie Sheen. Listen, if anything gives me hope that there will be peace in the Middle East, that the alien will finally get along with Ripley, that dogs and cats will live together in mass hysteria. It is that Charlie Sheen, it was announced today, will be doing a show and reuniting with Chuck Lorre. That's right, Chuck Lorre from Two and a Half Men. Him and Charlie Sheen are reuniting on a show. I can't fucking believe it. What's this thing? I've lived long enough. What's that line in the League of Their Own? I live long enough to know that I've seen too much and I don't want to see any more. That was the announcer there, Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley. He was the announcer in League of Their Own. He said that I've lived long enough to know that I've seen too much and I don't want to see any more. So Chuck Lorre and Charlie Sheen are coming together 12 years after the fallout from Two and a Half Men, and the tiger blood and the winning became a hashtag in our worlds. They're reuniting for his first Max comedy series. So that's on HBO Max, which will now be Max. It's going to be called How to Be a Bookie. And this comes to us from Nelly Andreeva, who is breaking it. Sheen is set for a recurring role in a single camera comedy headlined by Sebastian Maniscalco, which hails from Two and a Half Men studio, Warner Brothers Television, where Lorre is based. Now, the reps for Max and WB-TV have declined comment, but the gig is part of the comeback for Charlie Sheen, who is attached to star in a dramedy called Ramble On from Doug Ellen, which has also been shopped. Remember, Sheen made so much money on Two and a Half Men. Look, Two and a Half Men's a fun show. Like, I will put that on, and the Lady Outlaw loves it as well. And we'll just watch it. It's a lot of fun. And there were a lot of really good guest stars on that show. Now, do I think Charlie's being challenged as an actor on that show? Not in the slightest, but it's a fun show. And it's fun. I will watch that over Friends any day. Man, Friends is so not my cup of tea, but I'll watch that any day because I like the interactions and the chemistry on everybody involved in that. But How to Be a Bookie is going to be co-written by Lorre and Nick Bakay. I remember Nick Bakay. A veteran bookie struggles to survive the impending legalization of sports gambling, increasingly unstable clients, family, coworkers, and a lifestyle that bounces them around every corner of Los Angeles, high and low. Omar J. Dorsey, Jorge Garcia, Andrea Anders, wow, Vanessa Ferlito, wow, and Maxim Swinton are also starring in this. This sounds good. I actually will watch this, for God's sakes. So 12 years later, Chuck Lorre and Charlie Sheen are putting it back together. I don't understand how this show is not called Winning. That is just sitting right there. How do you not call the show Winning? Maybe because Charlie's not the lead. He's a recurring character. Maybe that's why it's not called Winning. Because if it's about a bookie, it seems to make sense that winning would be an essential part of being a bookie. So I don't know how you don't use that when that became such a big catchphrase for Charlie Sheen. But maybe if he'd been the lead, they would have called it Winning. Sebastian Maniscalco had nothing to do with that situation. So I'm very interested in Jorge Garcia being a part of this. So very interesting stuff there for sure. All right. What other piece of news that we need to talk about? Talk about Michelle, talk about all this kind of stuff. Is there anything else that okay? So before I just wanted to, the Fox News stuff. So real quick, today the Dominion lawsuit against Fox was settled. Reports are saying $787 million, which is half of what they were asking for. I think they were asking for $1.6 billion in damages. And just right after they seated 12 people on a jury and they were ready to start opening arguments, the lawyers went off and had a conversation. The judge delayed the trial and they settled. Fox News settled with Dominion over the lies that Fox News told about the election, the lies that they filtered through about what happened here with Dominion claiming the election machines, all this kind of stuff here. So Fox is going to pay $787.5 million in this defamation case against Dominion Voting Systems. and they announced it this afternoon. Other terms have not been made public from the deal. Dominion had sought $1.6 billion from Fox for the lies over the network broadcast. But look at but the thing is, a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is a good thing," and some people are like, "No, it's not a good thing." But because we wanted to expose what was going on down there, and certainly we had already seen some emails and text messages and conversations with these people that had come out, and they said that they knew they were telling lies. Like Maria Bartiromo, certainly we saw some people commenting in the text messages. Certainly Tucker Carlson's text messages vilifying Trump, hating on Trump like crazy. I think he called him the devil or something, or Mephisto or whatever it is. But all this kind of stuff that was going on here, all the stuff was being exposed, that they were all lying. And Dominion wanted to bring Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Bartiromo, and other people onto the stage, including Rupert Murdoch, to testify about the situation. Rupert Murdoch said in his deposition, "I knew they were lying and I could have pulled them, but I didn't." Now, a lot of people are saying that this is going to be water off Fox News's back because they're about to re-up all their deals with cable companies, and they're essentially going to use that money that they're going to re-up with higher numbers to pay off the $787 million here. So in a way, they haven't really lost. And also, although the judge has appointed a special master to go in and explore the stuff with Fox News and who was lying and who was intimidating witnesses, who was in collusion against the situation, most people don't think it's going to yield much and it's going to lead to anything. And Fox News issued a statement where they just said that they are happy with the result, that some of the claims that Dominion made were valid about Fox, and that Fox News is just happy that they can resolve this and the whole country can move on. But of course, it's utter horseshit because tonight I'm sure Tucker's going to talk about election fraud lies. I'm sure Bartiromo is going to do it. She's been pushing wackier and wackier lies. I'm sure Hannity's going to do the nonsense as well. They're all going to do their fucking dances and lie through their fucking teeth to appease their base because they saw that they were losing their base after the election to Newsmax and OANN. So it's always about money. And all of these bobbleheads, these nightly bobbleheads, are all about their money and making sure they have enough cars and houses and all that kind of stuff. Nothing they say is actual truth at all, So a lot of people, there are some people who are upset about this because they wanted this to go to trial. They wanted the inner machinations of Fox News to be exposed overall. So this was going to take a long time too if they'd started with the case. I'm sure there were going to be delays and motions and hearings and all these things that were going to be debated. And so it would have taken probably years before we got any kind of result. So this is where you look at here, because if the case had gone to trial, Dominion could have won the full $1.6 billion. And then the matter would have been caught up in years of costly appeals and wrangling. This is what The Atlantic is reporting. So Dominion, at best, would have been able to recover the money years from now. At worst, the award might have been reduced or thrown out altogether. So it's wiser to take the cash offer now. The settlement is one of the largest defamation payouts in history. It amounts to nearly 6% of Fox's total revenue in 2022, just in 2022. So they're opining that the rush to settlement was because they didn't want to put its stars or its executive chairman on the witness stand in court. But it is the cost of doing business. And I saw one of the guys I follow, one of the political reporters, said that Donald Trump just cost Fox News $787 million. So not wrong in that situation. It's costly to back this guy. I don't know why so many people back this clown, but they do. And almost all of them get either disbarred, have their reputations tarnished, lose their jobs, pay out $787 million. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah. Tucker said in his texts here, he hated Donald Trump passionately and knew that Trump lawyer Sidney Powell was lying. And that Murdoch deemed Trump's lies about the election being stolen as crazy stuff. And the evidence appeared to show that Fox knew well that it was broadcasting false and malicious material. So that is the truth of all of this. So it's a shame at the end of the day, because we're going to now deal with this nonsense, and they're going to keep going, and they're going to keep being doing the nonsense that they're doing and poisoning our friends, poisoning our family members, poisoning our country against each other, which will, in my opinion, probably lead to a civil war sooner rather than later. I just believe that. Everybody's caught up in who's going to be the next Superman, who's going to play Superman. I'm telling you, one day it is not going to fucking matter, because we're going to be out in the streets fighting each other. I just believe that. And I think the left is getting sick and tired as well. And the right has this fantasy that the left is a bunch of tree hugging people with long beards who wouldn't know which end to shoot a rifle or a gun. And that's not true. And that is something I really legitimately fear and don't want to see. But I also don't see how this appeases in any way, as you see the shenanigans that the separate Republican bodies and representatives are pulling in separate states, not only with abortion, but we're seeing in Tennessee with them trying to disenfranchise two representatives, two young black men who are representing their counties there in the Tennessee state legislature. And we see it happening in Wisconsin. We're seeing it happening in Wyoming and all these places. And it's a shame. Florida, certainly DeSantis is like a fucking dictator down there. So it's just like, it's a shame. And I don't see how the ballot box is going to change all these attitudes around. And as we hear more about Clarence Thomas and his situation with Harlan Crow, you just see like they've been rigging the system for quite some time. And so I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm not one of those people. I'm just saying, like, you can see the evidence here and you don't know where it's going to lead, unfortunately. So anyway, I just want to touch on that because I know I mentioned I was going to talk about that on Twitter. So we'll see what the end result. I'm sure there's more to untangle here as we go along. All right. One last thing before. Well, actually, let me take one last break, and then we'll jump into the last thing, which is the Love is Blind season 4 reunion show. Right after this. All right. So let's get into it here, and I've got some Streamlabs. Actually, I'll get to Streamlabs first here. Justin Toner says, "Hey, John, seen Dungeons and Dragons twice. Wish it was doing better at the box office, but hope it gets a sequel. Going to see Super Mario this weekend. Finally, with a friend. Still need to see John Wick 4 and Creed 3. So excited for the Picard season 3 finale this week." Yeah, Justin, I agree with you. I wish Dungeons and Dragons was doing better as well, but it was always an uphill climb with that because it's such a niche property. But the fact that it was a damn good movie, I think, speaks volumes. People will want a sequel, and so hopefully there will be an effort to create a sequel, and maybe it will get a second life on streaming or on these services, and people will, or on Redbox or whatever they have, and people will discover it, and that'll build the momentum for a sequel even more so. So we shall see. Hope you enjoy Super Mario. I saw a couple of friends saw it the other day, and they loved it as much as I did. So, it's a good stuff. And I hope you go see John Wick 4. I need to go see that again as well. I'm thinking of doing like one of those film essays on John Wick 4. So I may go see it again by myself at one of the local theaters here that doesn't have a lot of people in it. So I can sit there and make notes of the whole screening. We'll see. Christine says, "Hey, I audibly gasped over your comment about Breaking Bad. Like you with Succession, I binged it and caught up to watch the last season in real time. And the satisfaction I had watching great television was top tier." All right, Christine. All right. I know that might be my next project to jump into Breaking Bad. I saw the first season, so I remember what happens at the end. So maybe that'll be the way to go there. We shall see. And speaking of seasons, let's move on to this Love is Blind season 4 reunion show. Not sure if you all had a chance to watch it. I have been an avid fan of Love is Blind, along with Wendy Lee and Roxy Stryer, Winston A. Marshall, Emma Fife, and others who've come out of the woodwork. I think Gray Drake even coming out of the woodwork and being fans of Love is Blind. And so we watched the reunion. Now, we were set to watch the reunion live the other night at 5 p.m. PT on Sunday night. We'd made dinner. I'd constructed my whole day so I could be home in time to watch the show. And then the show didn't happen for an hour and a half, and I just went and watched Succession instead. And apparently some people got to watch it live. But then they released it the next day at 12 o'clock, yesterday at 12 p.m. PT. The Lady Night Live watched it in the afternoon, and it was overall a bit of a letdown, to be honest with you. It was kind of a letdown because it looked like everyone had been kind of like muzzled, so to speak, as you were watching the show. Everyone was kind of afraid to say the wrong thing, or apparently the social media stuff now is becoming a real thing that affects these people. And I think this was the best season since season 1, in my opinion. I mean, season 2 was okay. Season 3 was a fucking debacle, and everybody. I don't want to see anybody involved in season 3, which is why I hated seeing Bartiz show up at the reunion for this one with a baby that he clearly he just had a baby. And so it just was weird on so many levels to see him be a part of it, because I hate season 3 so much. But this one, I really enjoyed seeing the characters, seeing the people involved, and the chemistry there. And Zach and Bliss are certainly my number one when you look at the couples from this. And so seeing how strong they are together, I think was great to see in all of this, and seeing where they're going to go. And it seems like those two are certainly going to make it. They certainly care about each other as well, and I liked seeing that. Certainly, the number one couple, right, is Tiffany and Brett. That's the number one couple. Tiffany and Brett is so good. They're so good together, and they're just so naturally perfect. And they were no drama on the reunion show. I mean, Vanessa was trying to fabricate a drama with them, and it didn't really come about. Talking about how her falling asleep and all this kind of stuff, but it was pretty chill with those two, and I think those two are going to be together for a very long time. I have a friend who works at Nike and has seen the photos of the poster boards there for him, so it's pretty cool. Let's see who the other two couple. Oh, Chelsea and Kwame, really interesting stuff. The thing that we saw with Chelsea and Kwame, they were talking about it, and other couples talked about it, how you only saw a snippet of what went on with them. You only saw a snippet, so it looked like Kwame was kind of half in, half out in this relationship. But when you saw them in the reunion special, it felt like they were, pretty connected with each other. And certainly Chelsea, having that conversation with Micah there about Micah flirting with Kwame, and having that conversation once they got out of the pods and all of that, kind of squashing that. And there, clearly what I came away from the reunion was that these people understand now in this experiment how editors can warp narratives or fabricate narratives, because it's a TV show. So you're trying to get people to watch. So that's what they did here. And so you wondered about Kwame, but they seem pretty secure with each other. So I thought that was fantastic. And Chelsea said that it's been difficult and very uncomfortable watching the scenes with Kwame and Micah, but she's grown, and I really want her to be happy. And she said she's move on from it. And then Kwame took ownership, which I thought was really interesting for him, saying that he was immature. And I'm sorry I let my ego get the best of me at that moment. And you know what? We have to always look at this thing that it's an experiment where people are shoved together in a concentrated amount of time, and where it all goes from. So we will see. Then the Marshall and Jackie stuff was really interesting. Like Vanessa seemed to be like, I don't want to fuck with this Jackie chick, because Jackie has been on TikTok and she's been spilling all the tea, probably violating her NDA like crazy, releasing text messages, really, going after Marshall a little bit. And Vanessa, instead of coming at her, because she came at everybody, seemed like throughout the reunion, she kind of let Jackie and Josh get away with murder, in essence, figuratively, of course, with their lies. And the fact that Jackie kept the ring, that's some low rent shit, man. That's some basura shit to do. You didn't have feelings for him. You knew you didn't have feelings for him 100%. Why are you keeping the ring? That's some ghetto ass shit to do. So it's a shame to see that happening there in that situation. But apparently she claims he called her some term, and he says he never did. And then she claimed that he went and was trying to get with someone else, and he only went on one date with someone else. So just a bunch of lies, and Josh chiming in on his lies on us. And so, I think Marshall was right. Like, let both of them move on. Let me move on. It's done. The less said about those people, the better, because certainly those two they certainly deserve each other in every sense of the word. Micah and Paul was an interesting situation. Micah certainly seemed like someone who was a bit, how's the term I would look for? She almost seemed like a scalded puppy. Like she didn't want to say too much. She got emotional in talking about the Paul breakup. She certainly got emotional when it was revealed to her what Paul had said about her not being possibly fit to be a mother. And so there was issues there. I know she engaged in the mean girl shit with Irina, who we'll get to in a second. But I just kind of felt bad for her because she seemed like a person who got really exposed for some of her behavior on the show and spent a majority of the reunion special apologizing and then trying to call out Paul. And when she called out Paul, Zach chimed in to defend Paul. So it got a little bit messy in their interactions, for sure. And speaking of messy, so we'll see what happens. I mean, I think Micah, I'm sure she'll find someone, but the Paul and Micah's bridesmaid thing, it's a little suspect. I don't know if I bought Paul's reasoning for that because you don't usually touch another woman's butt unless you've got some kind of connection there. I mean, you can easily just tap her on the shoulder, but if he's touching her butt to move out of the way, and her smile, I don't know. I got questions there on that situation for sure. And speaking of drama here, Irina was, what a performance there. That was, I think I tweeted about it and I said it was like the beginning of the Velma song in Chicago when she is trying to lobby Roxy to join her for that duet and talking about her and her sister had that act. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, Velma Kelly in an act of desperation. And so it felt like they were the arena. And the fact that the audience laughed at her as she was trying to fabricate those crocodile tears about her behavior, I think was hilarious. She was trying to essentially brand save. And I mean, Zach called her out and said, you just got on the show to be famous. And he's not wrong. She probably did. And so, it felt like one of those situations there where she was clearly not smart enough to understand the situation she was putting herself in. And she looked way out of her depth in trying to apologize and trying to talk. And she kept trying to gaslight Zach a little bit in some of the interactions. And it's like, well, are you sorry or not sorry? Because it seems like you're trying to still say you were right about certain things. And even, I didn't know she sent that DM to Bliss about you dodged a bullet. That is the ultimate mean girl move. When you were laughing at Bliss and enjoying Bliss's, that she didn't get Zach. So yeah, it was just kind of, but overall, it was just kind of a muted mess a little bit. And the camera, whoever was directing it was really terrible. There were shots where people were talking and they were just on shots on people that were even listening to what was being talked about. And it just seemed like there was a lot of mistakes made in the recording and all of that. And I think Vanessa, nobody watches for Vanessa and Nick. Nobody fucking watches for Vanessa and Nick. And the truth is the producers fucking know it, which is why they only have them show up in episode 1, then when they leave the pods, and then in the finale and the reunion. That's it. I mean, I've never seen a show hosted by people who only show up 4 times in the entire run of the series. And still call themselves hosts. I think that's hilarious to me. And she was just out of control in the whole baby thing. And that's a selfish thing from a producer of the show, because she is a producer on the show. Her wanting to have a Love is Blind baby so they can crow about it on their social medias, I thought was poor form. Let these people get to know each other, have some time with each other. Then eventually down the road, maybe they'll have a baby. So she was kind of crazy about it a little. No, I don't want to say crazy, but she was a little bit over the top in how she was really hammering that home. And she seemed kind of moving around and edgy. Her face was constantly touching her. I don't know if she was on something or whatever was going on, but it was just a little weird, her energy. Maybe she was manic because she felt guilty that the show had gone late and kind of ruined the potential financial situations with the show because the reunion didn't go late, the ramifications of it all. So who knows? But it was a tough watch, certainly. And she was doing the cardinal rule that you don't do with co-hosts. She was constantly putting her hand in front of Nick's face when she was pointing to stuff, and you just don't do. That's not what you do with a co-host. And Nick seemed to be a little bit like a whip dog himself when Nick's been dealing with his his almost physical assault on a female paparazzo from last year. So maybe he's just kind of lost in his own stuff about it all. But yeah, it just wasn't a positive reunion special at all, in my opinion. And I watch a show like that. I'm like, I could host the shit out of a show like that. No fucking problem. And I'm seeing, those two do it. And it's like, and the thing is, what's really weird too, is that they don't seem to be that intelligent about emotions and that knowledgeable about emotions. So when they're going after Paul for Paul not being able to explain himself well, when if you're knowledgeable about emotions and you've done therapy and you understand the nuances of emotions and whatever, Paul actually was making a lot of sense. It's just he was making sense up here, and they are dealing with emotions down here. He is much more analytical and scientific. And so the problem is that those two are trying to get him to talk in a way that he doesn't talk because he's an introverted, intelligent, scientific, analytical guy. So he's not going to present emotions in the way that you would process emotions. He's going to present emotions in the way he processes it. So you've got to meet him at his level in order to understand it and be able to speak about it. But I don't think either of one of those two, and especially Micah, were capable of analyzing what Paul was trying to say about what he went through in that whole situation. So I wish we could get, better hosts that are a little more knowledgeable about therapy and about emotions that come up in therapy, relationship therapy. I know they go to therapy, and I get they probably have been married for so long, but it was just a tough watch. It felt like it wasn't the celebration of the season that it should have been, because Vanessa seemed to be like constantly talking, cutting off Nick, jumping on top of people's words, grilling them about certain things, and oh hey girl, oh yeah, all that kind of stuff. And it just was like, what is happening, man? Just why are you all over this? Like, relax, let it flow. And by the time it was over, I was happy that it was over. And I thought it was going to be a fun reunion show with some cool moments and some surprising, reveals. And it seemed like they all just dropped the ball because nobody wanted any drama. And I mean, Jackie and Josh, that was there. I mean, there was so much drama to be had there. And Vanessa didn't grill her at all about her shit. Like, I think she asked her one or two possibly, maybe slightly grilling questions, and it just kind of fell by the wayside. So it's a shame. So yeah, in the end, it was a great season that ended with a terrible reunion show. And maybe down the road, they'll fix those issues. I certainly don't want to see more of Nick and Vanessa on the show, but certainly maybe somebody else who's not a part of the show can come in and host the reunion special. Someone who's a little more adept and better at getting them to talk about stuff and leading the conversation and knowing when to pull back, knowing when not to make it about themselves, because it felt like Vanessa was doing that. And I'm only saying that because Nick didn't do much. So if Nick had been doing the same thing as Vanessa, I'd be calling out Nick as well. But because like last season, in the last season reunion show, I felt like Nick was trying to, instigate a certain situation or trying to brand save about how he's this protective man about shit. And I thought he was off base with some of the shit he was doing on the reunion show of last year. The reason Vanessa's getting all the hate and kind of the criticism for this reunion show is because she made herself the center of it by talking so much about everything. And so, you got to take the good with the bad. If you're going to make yourself the center of it, you're going to be criticized and not criticized, or criticized and lauded. So you've got to be willing to take both. And it felt that way when I was watching the reunion show. So yeah. All right. Well, there we go. I think that's the nation for tonight. Let me hit some of these Streamlabs as I wrap up. Oh, is that all of them? I think I did all the Streamlabs and Super Chats. All right. Well, there you go. That's the show for tonight. I am exhausted. I'm going to go relaxed. Been talking for 2 hours now. Thank you all for joining me and hanging out with me. Thanks for keeping the chat lively. Got 135 of you hanging out with me. Thank you very much. We had 200 at one point, so thank you to all of you who hung out with me. If you're watching this later, do me a massive favor. Hit a like on this video. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel and hit that bell button so you will drop all the content we do. If you are watching right now, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that bell button so you can be alerted to these moments that pop up, or these shows that pop up when I'm in the mood to do a live show here on the channel. Would appreciate it. Don't forget, tomorrow we've got so much content coming up, and Thursday and Friday as well. The Mandalorian wrapping up, the Picard wrapping up, all this other stuff happening in the world that we're going to be talking about. The Hot Mic on Thursday, the Geek Buddies main show either tomorrow or Friday. So keep an eye out for all that kind of stuff going on. And on Friday, we are dropping part 1 of our exploration of the Social Network with me and Steve Morris on the Cinephiles. welcoming Scott Mance to be our guest as we break it down. It's a film we've talked about discussing on the Cinephiles for 3 or 4 years now, and it's finally happening, The Social Network, with Steve Scott and me. So look for that as well out there in your world. All right, that's it from me. You guys are the best. Love you all madly. Thanks so much again. Please remember to follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. And you all enjoy the rest of your nights, and I'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The Nation on The Outlaw Nation. Peace until then.